welcome back to Surprise Witness. Today's word is about strategic offense, right? And the Lord has been talking to me about this for a few days, but I only now put it all together, right? And so a couple days ago, He told me the word unleashed. And I looked it up, and it was that movie with Jet Li, right? And the thing that had stood out to me was also the concept of like mercenary and um, finding out what your past is and growing and evolving from that, right? And so what I took from it, especially because it had like lined up with a whole bunch of other words that I've been receiving, is that someone is about to be unleashed. Now, because of how many overlapping words I got with it and other questions I had asked, this is what I got from it. A mercenary has been unleashed to conduct an investigation. This is a champion from the Lord's army. Keep in mind the Lord has used the word unleashed to describe what is occurring. I went ahead and looked up the literal definition, right? And it means released from restraint, caused by strong or violent force to become unrestrained. When you unleash, you let it happen or begin something powerful that once begun cannot be controlled. And so the morning that I heard this go down, I heard, I unleash you. But he wasn't talking to me. It felt like I was eavesdropping, like I was listening in on another conversation, right? And then I thought about that man that I keep having visions of, the one that I've been having visions of since January. And I was like, is this him, Lord? Is this what's going on? Is this regarding the situation in the Middle East, or what's going on here, right? So it was then that I got the connection that this individual goes hand in hand with the word on the challenge to the right to command. If y'all saw my video about 2-3 days ago, I said that there is someone that is contesting a right to command right now. Now, this person is contesting authority over an army, and this challenge is valid due to bloodline and lineage. So I don't know if this has to do with the royals. I don't know if it has to do with another governmental organization that traces, I guess, right to rule via blood. I'm not sure. Um, Also, the Lord told me something else. The blood is sacred, but if taken by another, it will become a cancer to them. It is only in this person that this blood works the way it does. I don't know why that's important, but it is only to this person that this blood works the way it's supposed to. If it's in anyone else, then it makes them sick. Okay? And this is important, I think, because it has to do with this like mandate of heaven kind of vibe that I'm getting from it, because it feels like holy bloodline straight from a royal from back in the day. You know, if anyone else takes this person's blood, like if they want to have a child with this person, or if they want to harm this person or get like some kind of blood transfusion to make it so that they somehow possess that blood, it's going to kill them. Because this blood is poison to anyone else that isn't this person. And actually, I don't know about children. Like I said it, and then I was like, wait, I didn't even see that or whatever. But I mean in like a transfusion kind of process, or like, this is gonna sound weird, but like I see people wanting to eat this person's blood, and like if you eat it, you're gonna die. It's not like you're going to absorb it and it has some kind of magical property and like you can take it. Like, that's not how it works. Like, this blood might actually even be killing this person. I'm not sure. But especially if you take this person's blood, it will harm you. A shocking discovery that one's highly esteemed ally is in fact an enemy. There's a strong alliance in which two parties discover their deep state slash criminal undergrounds have been responsible for the crimes against each other. This separation and kinship feels like a divorce, and it is painful. It is a betrayal, and their relationship will publicly end politely with no retaliatory action for a time, since each party is almost as shocked with the discovery of the other. And so, what it gives me the sense of is that it's like they're good. These two allies are really good at keeping tabs on like everyone and even on their own allies, but their allies had like another layer of sneakiness and of like being hidden that shocks both of them. And it's like they're not, it kind of feels like I'm not even mad, I'm like impressed, like what, but at the same time deep betrayal over it, like feelings of deep pain, right? Because it feels like a divorce, it feels like a heartbreak. And there will come a time, however, at the peak of each of them acting independently of each other. This means they are no longer in alliance. This means some time has passed after they have broken up in the public, right? That one will conquer the other with such brutality that it will shock many. And it does not necessarily mean that the larger of these two foes is going to be the winner, because what I see is that one destroys the other through skilled offensive action. Okay. And let me say this, the other has become so used to being on the offense that being in the defense is foreign. And that is why they will fall. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to mean in war or like literally or whatever. The sense that I get is it's all about strategy, and it doesn't necessarily have to be destroying people, destroying like a public or like causing mass destruction or mass casualty events. This could be a strategy in which they destroy someone politically, um, using the media or like politics or public relations or something like that. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be a mass casualty event. Okay. It could be like I don't know, the vision I'm getting is like an event that destroys your image forever. That destroys your image forever so much that anytime anyone looks at you, that's what they think of, and like you can't get a job after that, or like you become so associated with the negative thing that you have done that you can never bounce back from it. Is like how big it is. And this may be the cataclysm event that God talks a lot about, or this I honestly don't know. I don't feel like it's a cataclysm, but he did tell me it would be brutal. Okay. um but he unleashed this person, right, a while back ago. And something I can't shake is just the fact that he used that word unleash, right? And so this morning I was talking to him about it, and I was like, hey, you've been talking about this person being unleashed for a while. And it was after I made my morning musing video. And then I told him, hey, I need to do a strategic studies video. Like, I haven't made a strategic studies video. I've just been doing morning musings and like random words. And I was like, I really need to release a strategic study video. And he was like, okay, now's the perfect time. And I told him, well, I left my book downstairs. Should I just save it for tomorrow or like what, right? And he was like, no, I told you to buy 2 books on strategic studies. I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, so get the second one. So I get the second one, literally open the book, and it lands right there on offensive action, right? I was like, oh my God, you're so funny, right? So I'm reading it so I can familiarize myself with it before I read it to y'all. And guess what the case study has? And I'm just going to read it to y'all, the short sentence, right? so that y'all can see how the Lord acts, or how the Lord is so wise. So the case study we'll be doing today is over Granicus, right? 334 BCE. Alexander the Great's victory at the river Granicus in 334 BCE brilliantly represents the Macedonian king's combination of brazenness and strategic acumen in battle. The battle also exemplifies Sun Tzu's variables for predicting the outcome of war. Alexander was wholly unrestrained in his approach to every battle, siege, and seemingly unwinnable scenario he faced. He was a tactical genius with an army dedicated to the service of his will. In every significant engagement he faced, Alexander's successes fall into line with Sun Tzu's points 2 through 5 above. Even on the question of whether he always chose wisely when to fight and when to postpone, his track record proves that fortune favored boldness. And it's important, like this, honestly, this case study might take a while. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video and I'm going to title that one Strategic Offense, which is going to be our strategic study. And then the next video I make is in conjunction with this one. So I'm going to label it Part 2 SS, and then I'm going to put Case Study Granicus, okay? Just so y'all know how I'm going to format these. And so I'm going to go ahead and read to y'all from Sun Tzu's The Art of War. Strategic offense. In considering the complete art of war, it is greatly preferable to capture a state whole rather than to break it up. It is better to capture an army whole rather than to break it up. It is better to capture a regiment whole rather than to break it up. It is better to capture a battalion whole rather than to break it up. It is better to capture a company whole rather than break it up. Using this principle, you can understand that winning 100 victories out of 100 battles is not the ultimate achievement. The ultimate achievement is to defeat the enemy without even coming to battle. It is better to capture an army whole rather than to break it up. Thus, it follows that the highest form of warfare is to outthink the enemy. Next is to break his alliances, then to defeat his armies in battle. The lowest form is to besiege cities. Siege warfare should only be undertaken if it is unavoidable. The time involved is too costly. It takes up to 3 months to construct the various movable shelters, transports, and other siege engines. It takes another 3 months to raise earthworks against the walls. If the general loses patience and sends his men swarming like ants around the city, it will cost him a third of his army with no result. These are the disastrous pitfalls of a siege. Thus, a skilled general must defeat the army without coming to battle, take his cities without a siege, and overthrow his state without a long campaign. He must make every effort under heaven to achieve total victory with his forces undiminished. This is the art of strategic offense. Thus, when deploying your troops, if you outnumber the enemy 10 to 1, surround him. 5 to 1, attack him. 2 to 1, split him. If forces are equal, engage him in open battle. If you in turn are slightly outnumbered, evade his advances. If you are heavily outnumbered, withdraw completely. A smaller force, no matter how determined, will always succumb to a larger one. The army's commander is the mainstay of the state. If his support is solid, the state will be strong. If his support is flawed, the state will be weak. Indeed, there are 3 ways a ruler can bring disaster on his army. He may hobble the army by ordering advance or retreat at the wrong time. He may confuse his troops by interfering in military organization without understanding it. He may dishearten his troops by meddling with the rank and responsibility without regard to the consequences. If they see the army confused and discomfited, the lesser lords and princes will take advantage and begin to cause trouble. This is called spurning victory by disrupting the army. There are 5 keys to victory. Knowing when to fight and when not to brings victory. Knowledge what to do both when superior in numbers and when outnumbered brings victory. Holding officers and men united in purpose brings victory. Careful preparation to catch the enemy unprepared brings victory. A skillful general given free rein by the ruler brings victory. These 5 together are the true path to success. And so when I read this part, specifically the part where a skillful general given free rein by the ruler, that reminded me of when God said, "You are unleashed." Okay. And I totally believe that this is all, like, I have to talk about this because if I'm wrong and this is actually an enemy army that us as the United States are going to face, or like whatever, then like the sign of Jonah, I got to go tell y'all that destruction is coming so you can do something about it. If not, and if this is our battle tactic or like what, like, I don't even know. I just know that he wants me to talk about this. Okay. Thus, we may say that if you know yourself and know your enemy, you will gain victory 100 times out of 100. If you know yourself but do not know your enemy, you will meet one defeat for every victory. If you know neither yourself nor your enemy, you will never be victorious. And so this is something else that the Lord told me about this victory, right? So where did I write it? Okay. The winner also, okay. This one is intelligent and has studied their enemy for a long time out of love. Wrote it right here this morning. How? How did I think that, right? And it was funny because the morning musing was about knowing your own thoughts versus others as a spiritual gift so you could discern what was coming from you and what was coming from other people, right? So now, if you study your enemy out of love, what do you do when you're in love, right? Like, when you're in love and you're courting somebody, you study them so that you will know everything about them. Like, oh, this person doesn't like this kind of food, or oh, this person doesn't like this or that, or oh, they really like to do this. And so I know how to do more of that, or yada, yada. Now, if you have an alliance with somebody and this person knows you so well because of the love that they have had for you, quote unquote, right? Like, then they study you to anticipate your needs, to know what you act like when you're hungry, when you're moody, when your tone is a certain way. Hey, it's this certain time of the month. Hey, they usually have to pay this, or they get this done around this week, or whatever. When you are studied out of love, when somebody knows you that well, do you want somebody like that to be your enemy? Some of the worst fights that we fight are with our lovers. And why is it? Because they know us so well. Because they know exactly which buttons to push on us, right? And they also know how to completely annihilate us. When you are in alliance and when you are in a partnership with somebody, there is a certain level of information that you have to give them to allow for vulnerability to happen. And when that happens, you're vulnerable to attack. And that's when trust comes in within your partnership. But then if you find out that agents beneath this person have actively been working against you and what you've been trying to do, talk about betrayal. Now, why am I saying this? Because not every leader knows that the people beneath them are actively working against the alliance of the higher ups, right? We don't know this. Obviously, corruption exists. Obviously, people end up acting independently of what their superiors ask them to do, and that's what betrayal is. So it's like, if we're two leaders and the person under both of us are acting against each other when we openly are together, and then we discover this information that was unbeknownst to us, or perhaps we knew but we didn't know the extent of it, and then the extent of it comes to the surface, like, what do you do then? What do you do when you find out that your lover was responsible for killing X amount of your constituents, or what have you, right? And I'm calling it a lover because that's the way it's presented to me by God. Like, it's presented as like a relationship, right? And all I could think of is like, the times where I've had a relationship and I have been so hurt and betrayed by somebody that I'm like, I can't even do anything about it because I am so hurt by this that I am in disbelief. And all I want are the answers, right? But then I see that later on, someone strikes back. One of the two strikes back. And it's not necessarily the stronger one, it's the one that knows how to move. So in the next video, we'll be going over Granicus and how he was unrestrained.